Hello, I'm Justin from NRN, and oh my Lanta! That was an amazing Singapore Grand Prix, and we're going to talk all about it. Plus, it was the first round of the NASCAR playoffs, so let's go full throttle and find out who was on top and who's got some splaining to do. First, let's start with the Singapore Grand Prix. Man, what a race. If you would have told me that both Ferraris and Max Verstappen would be crashed out in the very first corner of the race, I'd have called you a fool. Of course, this would have made me a fool because that is exactly what happened. As soon as the lights went out, both Ferraris squeezed Max Verstappen and all three cars were crashed out of the race. It didn't matter that Max Verstappen had a great week, which he really needed because he's been struggling a little bit this season. He was fastest in all of the practice sessions and he missed the pole by just that much. But with him being out of the race along with the Ferraris, this opened the door for Lewis Hamilton to soar to an easy win and gain max points over his championship rival Sebastian Vettel. Now what we'll have to do is wait and see how Vettel can respond to this in Malaysia. Now, I'm going to go with my gut, and I think it is always good that you go with the gut feeling. I don't think Vettel will be able to do this. I think the start of the Singapore race when Sebastian Vettel was crashed was the beginning of the end. I think now this is going to be even harder to come back from now that Lewis Hamilton is the point leader. And I think at the end of the season it will be Lewis Hamilton holding up his fourth world title. But we'll just have to wait and see because there's still plenty of racing left to do. But out of all the racing I saw, this race was my favorite. Singapore never disappoints. It's always a great race. And this one was no exception either. Shifting gears to the World Endurance Championship, it was the sixth round at the Circuit of the Americas, and of course Porsche had been quick all weekend long and in fact secured the front row of the grid. But when the race began, Toyota looked to have found a little something that maybe could compete with those Porsches, and they took the fight to them early on. During the first round of pit stops though, Toyota played a little pit strategy and didn't take tires. That would give them the lead. Of course, this strategy didn't work, and eventually the Porsches would reclaim the lead. The 98 Aston Martin would gain their second win in a row in GTE AM class. The Senior Tech guys would gain their first win of the season in LMP2. And despite a late race puncture, James Calado and Alessandro Pierguidi would drive to victory in GTE Pro and their Ferrari. And of course, the Porsches would get a 1-2 finish with the number 2 car coming out on top for the fourth straight time. Pretty impressive, I'd say. The next round of the World Endurance Championship will be the 6 Hours of Fuji. Overall, this race wasn't that bad. There was some really good racing in the GTE AM class and the GTE Pro class, which are always my two favorite of the classes to watch. But of course, the LMP1 class is lacking a little bit. There's really only 2 teams and only one team that's really capable of winning right now. So the stuff that's going on up front with the LMP1s, I don't think is that exciting. In fact, next season, I think they should just do away with the LMP1 class and just have the LMP2 class be the top series in the World Endurance Championship. But that's just me. But overall, the race was pretty good, and I look forward to the 6 Hours of Fuji. Speaking of not a lot of excitement, that brings me to the first round of the playoffs for NASCAR. Now, despite the Toyotas not being quick in Texas, that definitely was not the case in Chicagoland Motor Speedway, where Martin Truex Jr. dominated most of the race. Even despite having a pit road speeding penalty, no one could stop him, and he took the lead and he went on from there to win the race in the final stage from Chicago. It was quite a performance. And if you want my opinion, and I assume you do because you've been watching this video up to this point, I think they should just go ahead and hand the trophy to Truex and give him the cup, because I do not see how anyone is going to be able to stop this team. And in fact, can you believe that we're even talking about Martin Truex Jr. winning a championship right now? I mean, this is the same guy who could barely finish in the top 10 when he was with Michael Waltrip Racing. And then he joins the 78 team, who is a one-car organization, or was a one-car organization for many years in NASCAR. And I think at one point they were even kind of a start and park team. I mean, this is a team that Joe Nemechek drove for and Regan Smith drove for, and they're out of Denver, not even near Charlotte where all the other teams call home. And here they are with the dominant car, the car that can win every week, with a driver who couldn't used to win every week, and they're competing for a championship. It's amazing. It's beyond me, and it's one of the great things about NASCAR that if you stay in it long enough and you try hard enough, your day can come. And I like that. Some guys, though, that were struggling just a little bit in the Chicago race. Kyle Busch, who started from the pole, he would wind up finishing 15th. So that isn't good. That isn't good. He's really going to need to pick it up, and I think Kyle Busch can. They had some miscommunications during the race, but I don't see Kyle Busch getting eliminated in this first round. Now, some guys who are in danger after the very first race, that would be guys like Kurt Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Casey Kane, and Ryan Newman. Now, this isn't too surprising to me because when I filled out my predictions for how the brackets would work going through the rounds, mine looked similar to this except for Kurt Busch. I actually thought that Kurt Busch would make it into the round of 12 and that Jamie McMurray would be eliminated in the first round, which could still happen. I mean, there's a lot to do, there's a lot left to go. That's why it's racing, because literally anything can happen, and that's why we watch, right? That's why we watch racing. But right now, those guys are in trouble and need to step it up here in the next 2 races before they make that first elimination cut. But the race overall, I didn't care for it. It wasn't that exciting. It didn't feel like a big playoff race, and the guys weren't really mixing it up as much. It felt like your average mile-and-a-half racetrack, where they just, you know, they just go and go and go. But there's still plenty of rounds left. I think as we get closer to the championship, maybe some more guys will start mixing it up and really going for it. But right now, Toyota's pretty dominant, and we're going to have to see who can step up. Can the Ford step up and go chase them down? I don't know. Right now, Martin Truex Jr. is looking like he wants this championship, and not much is going to stop him or get in his way. So, very busy weekend of racing this week. The Formula One race was by far my favorite. Lewis Hamilton adding to his championship lead over Sebastian Vettel. We'll have to see if Vettel can respond in Malaysia. And this Sunday is the second round of the NASCAR playoffs. We'll have to see if guys like Kurt Busch can overcome that bad race and make it into the round of 12. I'm Justin with NRN. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NRN to stay in the lead, see what I did there, with all your racing news. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around next time.